All right, what is going on, everyone? And welcome back to Mets Weekly as we are live at this very moment on YouTube and on X to discuss the latest offseason news and rumors going on in Mets land. But before we get into that, I want to remind everyone, subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel if you have not already for new episodes of our regularly recorded podcast that will be going out once a week once the off-season festivities start. And for those of you watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation in the future, make sure to turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. For those of you in the live chat right now, we'd love reading your comments, your questions, your concerns, all that great stuff. If you feel like you're being ignored, you're not being ignored, you're just being starred throughout the show, we'll try to pull up as many as we can to keep the flow of the conversation going. Make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok for some other content over there as well during the off-season. And for audio listeners of our podcast, make sure to follow us on all your favorite listening platforms. Not miss the audio version of new episodes that go up at 9 a.m. the following day that they're recorded live. Also, make sure to give us a 5-star review. That'd be greatly appreciated. So without further ado, let's get into the latest news as we are live on a very special 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time on a Friday to announce some significant coaching changes. Now, usually when coaching changes happen, we don't usually have a huge event for them, but it was definitely significant this year compared to the usual. But I'm joined here by Evan from the Mets Central podcast, one half of the Mets Central podcast. Obviously, his co-host Matt was not able to join us, but representing it well, obviously. Obviously, we know that there's one guy that we will completely rip into on this entire show, and I'm so excited to do so because it was a long time coming. But the Mets are making quite a change here, and I think we all kind of expected it with them underperforming the way that they did. But Evan, what are your thoughts here? I mean, plenty can go out because, again, all of these coaches have been pointed out very noticeably throughout with the players, but they're making a change here, and I think we can all agree it's well needed, especially after the performance we saw in the field for 162 games.
We won the war. That's what I could start by saying. We won the war, and if there's one silver lining about this team missing the playoffs, this is the outcome. And spare me the whole thing, because I know Andy Martino tweeted a few days ago that, oh, as upset as Met fans are, you shouldn't be celebrating guys losing their jobs. Spare me that when, number one, most of these guys played in the MLB before and got pretty good paychecks in the MLB. And number two, these guys, we know how baseball culture is. I mean, sports in general. When guys lose their jobs, they get another job. It's a carousel. So we know that all these guys, whether it's deserving or not, are going to get another job. So spare me the whole thing of you shouldn't be celebrating guys getting fired. This was needed, and the thing that I worried about with this team making the playoffs was, okay, are we going to get a little bit of a fake run in here? Like, are they going to win the wild card and, these guys stay around? This is what needed to happen regardless of the outcome of the season, unless they won the World Series, because we said it going into the year with one of the guys in particular. You've said it for more than just going into the year. You've said it for ever since he got hired with one of the guys we're going to talk about. And then in terms of just the other two, like, we'll get more into it, but when you have, we've said it all year, when you have two hitting coaches, you don't actually have a hitting coach. And then, with Jeremy Hefner, there's a lot to get into with that, but when your pitching staff, leads or is top 5 in walks in back-to-back years, I believe it was, then this is the outcome that needs to happen. And then Sarball, we talked about ad nauseum, whether you talk about poor base running decisions, whether you talk about, him teaching the fundamentals of defense, he needed to go. And then Gibson was pretty much just sleeping in the dugout 90% of the time. So I have no issue with him stepping away at all. But this is what needed to happen at the end of the season, and we won the war.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think everybody will, land on their feet fine. I'm sure they're great people. Like Matt is saying in the chat, saying, you got fired, whatever happens, happens, I guess. And again, like that's another thing that we are going to get into because, again, plenty of stuff, plenty of messages that were sent. And we've talked about whether you're talking about the message that's being sent in the clubhouse or to the players from coaches to the leaders on this team. We saw it throughout 162 games. And we knew that if this team did not accomplish what they were set out to accomplish by signing Juan Soto in the offseason, someone was going to be held accountable. And I'm glad that they did hold the coaching staff accountable, because they have definitely been on borrowed time for quite a while. It hasn't just been this year. And I think that a lot of people are trying to say that, well, talking about like the history of a lot of these guys and their track records and some of the good years they had and some of the good things that you had to. But I feel like when you talked about either Jeremy Hefner, Eric Chavez, or Jeremy Barnes, the amount of success stories you could probably just count on one hand. And that was the main reason as to why I'm like, okay, this isn't very significant. It's not efficient. Obviously, not everything is going to hit and not everything is going to be a success story, but you do see from other organizations how they bring in these players and they make them better, whether it's from hitting development or whether it's from the pitching development. From the pitching side of things, I mean, we can get into Jeremy Hefner right now. I was surprised that they let Hefner go, but I'm not going to sit here and say that he didn't deserve it. Because when it came to Jeremy Hefner, obviously plenty of people in the baseball world, and I'm not completely inside of the baseball world and inside the front offices or I'm not inside the clubhouse or whatever, a lot of them think highly of Jeremy Hefner. And I do understand that because I do think he is a smart guy. But when you look at the track record of 5 years that we have seen now with Jeremy Hefner, you are seeing a lot of pitchers come in here, be the worst version of themselves. You are also seeing, pitchers come in here, leave, and be the best version of themselves after they left. So again, there's plenty of factors that went on with Jeremy Hefner here where I'm like, okay, this guy isn't everything. And I don't care if they let him go or not. But again, there were some success stories. We can't say that he hasn't, but it also was very, very saturated into a fact of other factors that I feel like a lot of people were missing. There's, the Aaron Loup season in 2021 that that was one of his biggest success stories. Aaron Loup had a career beforehand. It's not like he was completely a bum beforehand. Edwin Diaz had a career beforehand. Guys like Max Scherzer, Justin Verlander, whether they were good or not, they all had careers beforehand. So there was never like any of these pitchers that they brought in and all of a sudden they were amazing. Reed Garrett, maybe? Like, again, you can count it on your hand. And it wasn't showing any like efficient process with this team. I just didn't see it. I also just feel like there was a lack of feel from Jeremy Hefner. And I wasn't as pissed with Jeremy Hefner as compared to some of these other guys, but the actions were there. I mean, it definitely was there as to where, this is not someone who you'd expect to stick around as much as they did, especially with as many regimes as he's survived. I mean, it was a 3-strike policy at that point. 3 strikes, you're done. I mean, he survived the Epler regime. He survived the Scott/Porter/Sandy/ whatever you want to call it. And now he's survived the Stearns regime for 2 years. It's like, how many times can we keep doing this and still be getting these middling results? And I don't know. I feel like I'm not going to sit here and say, well, I'm surprised and he shouldn't have been fired, because there's still plenty that was not great from him. It seemed to be like he was getting overrated and overseen, like he was being seen as something an asset that he's not. And I'm not saying he's not that smart, and I'm not saying that he isn't an asset, but the way that he was perceived in the media was like, oh, well, this guy is turning us into the 90s Braves. No, he's not. I don't know. That's just my feel. I can ramble on and on about this. It's just,
yeah, like there's just so many things to dissect with the Hefner thing, because he was the guy that I'm similar to you where I felt indifferent if he was gone or not. For me, it was really the fact that there's a lot of context, like you said, that's involved with certain things. Because even when you talk about some of the success stories that he has, which a broken clock is right twice a day, because I saw people, list a few pitchers and it's like, what about these guys? Okay, what about the other 20, 40 pitchers on the roster from top down? And there is also something to be said here. And I don't know how much this correlates to him. Only the inside will know about this. But there is something to be said about, is he, giving these guys poor offseason regimens? Because how many times did guys come in the spring training injured throughout his tenure? How many times were guys getting injured and overworked? I mean, even Reed Garrett, when we talk about it, how many times was his arm getting ran into the ground? And I think, that does correlate a bit to him. And then there were times where we talked about too, where, just little in-game things where he would take too long to go out to the mound, wait for the damage to be done. And then when he would go out there, it's like even more damage would get done. And it's like, what are you saying to these pitchers out there? So you could tell me the Aaron Loop thing. You could tell me that he helped with Clay Holmes converting to a starting pitcher, which I would still say there's context to that, because there were times throughout the season I still felt they could have got more out of Clay Holmes, because there were times where there was a lack of adjustment. And Matt and I really talked about this with Clay Holmes all year on our show, where how many times is he going to be sinker reliant until we see some sort of adjustment? That falls on the pitching coach, who's not helping him make those adjustments necessary to deepen the arsenal. And then, like Easy saying, the walks as a staff was just inexcusable. And then, as you mentioned, how many guys left and started to thrive? Like Eric Orzi all of a sudden had a solid year. And I know Tampa Bay is Tampa Bay, but there's something to be said about him going there and then all of a sudden, starting to have success the second he leaves the organization. That's going to happen from time to time. I get it. But how come, as well, a guy like Ryan Helsley comes here, and when he's struggling, it takes forever for the adjustment to be made to get him on the right course, to where the damage was already done by the time Helsley was fixed here. And Gregory Soto kind of was what he was, but, I felt like his walk issue was amplified more the second that he came here. I don't know, again, if that's a correlation or not, but nonetheless, there just are so many times where the main question you need to ask yourself is, what pitcher did he make good for the long term in his tenure here? I can't think of one. Everyone's been a 1-year story. I mean, Griffin Canning, if you want to talk about him as well. Okay, let's see what happens if he comes back. But even then, Hefner's not here anymore. Aaron Loop, like we mentioned. Sean Manaea, if you want to give him credit for that. I still think the context matters there, that Manaea said himself that he changed his arm angle because he watched Chris Sale. So I don't know how much of that was Hefner. But the thing is, like, there is not one pitcher I could think of in the Hefner era or regime that developed into a solid starter. I mean, Tyler McGill, everyone talked about how he had the stuff and he never looked exactly like James saying, like Tyler McGill, everyone talked about the stuff and it never developed into anything. David Peterson falls apart every time throughout the season. Jose Buda, like Emizy's saying, was better when he went to San Francisco. It's just like, those are the things that matter.
And that's what I think the narrative is carrying right now. The message of, well, Stearns is just firing Jeremy Hefner because of the fact that, he couldn't make his terrible pitching acquisitions look good. No, it wasn't because of that. It was not because of that. This has been multiple years as to where you're talking about this results-based, where how many times can you do it anymore? Because, again, like we said, success stories. Seth Lugo as a full-time starter was fantastic for Kansas City for a good year. He was a Cy Young candidate. Michael Wacha was another one who has pitched well since leaving the Mets. There's other guys that you can put in here. Edwin Uceta, another guy that has left. Paul Sewald has even had success. Who else can you put out there? I mean, there's so many different guys who have had great outings great years, either leaving the Mets or before they come to the Mets. It always just seems like we are just the clog up process to having a pitcher go wherever they go. And it had to be Hefner to fall on that sword eventually, because there's only so many times that we can do it. Chris Flexen is another one who's had a decent stretch or whatever. Like it's more of just the fact of the consistency that you got from some of these pitchers in these other organizations. There's so many other guys that we have talked about.
Anthony Bonda,
even some minor league guys. Anthony Bonda's, and not, like, we can list this forever. But what about the list of guys that he's helped? Shamanaya, Luis Severino.
And Severino was honestly more of a health thing, and the whole thing that he wasn't getting enough sleep or whatever, like, is that how much? And yeah, I mean, Montero's another name. I don't think Montero was under Hefner, though, at any point with the Mets, but I mean, that is a guy that did leave and had success, if you want to point to it. But the whole conversation in general, like, forget just about Hefner. This goes for the whole coaching thing. My problem and my criticism with Stearns and all this is, from the get-go, he should have cleaned house. Like, that's the main thing. He should have brought in his own guys from the start. I just feel like this was long overdue to begin with, because usually when a new GM comes in or president, you clean house and you build your own organization up. That's what every team does except the Mets for whatever reason. And the frustrating part is now we're in a predicament where we don't know if this is a player problem or if this was a coaching problem, to where we're going to have to wait another year potentially to see if this is a core problem, because you didn't want to make the coaching changes 2 years earlier like you should have.
Yeah, it's been plenty of things that I've seen in hindsight. They're like, okay, this probably was a better decision, but I wanted to see them hire their own coaches from the. I felt like there was way too much inheritance from all aspects. Steve Cohen inheriting the players, inheriting this dumpster fire of an organization from the very beginning. You had Stearns inheriting plenty of players that he did not bring in, and still plenty of players out here that he did not bring in that are on this team. You had Mendoza inheriting his coaches. And even if you were talking about him from a certain angle of, him being a first-time manager and him trying to be like, the final boss of him being groomed into the role of a manager as to why they just had him inherit these coaches, that's fine. But again, I felt like if you had Stearns on the same page as Mendoza at the same point when he hired him, it made a lot more sense for them to talk about who they want to add into this whole situation. And listen, I don't think that it comes into question that Jeremy Hefner was the only casualty on the pitching side, because again, Stearns definitely screwed up this year. He definitely screwed up. But this was multiple years in the making of Jeremy Hefner just kind of being this underwhelming thought to everyone that he's Jeremy Hefner, he's a great pitching coach, but where are we seeing it? Like, this is the thing where we talk about all of this, where there can be plenty of situations wrong, but they're going to have to remove one of those situations to try and find a solution. And like we said, I still have questions about if this core can go through, if this core can actually lift and win as itself, as the leaders. But they're going to have to figure out what was the issue. Because if it was an issue altogether, then players are going to go after next season. There's going to be plenty of shakeup that you're going to see. There's plenty of cooks as to all of this. But I didn't really like the fact that we just sat here with the same mantra of the same coaches, the same this, the same that, with a new regime of a president of baseball operations, the first ever president of baseball operations in Mets history. He's not just a GM, he's the president of baseball operations. And somehow he was still just inheriting these coaches. And James Dowling making a good point here, saying, do you think Stearns kept coaches for the observation year? Then the team ended up doing better than everyone thought. It's possible
I think
that was it.
For sure.
It is definitely possible. But I also think that there was a little bit of a hiding element to it where we saw this team be one of the worst teams in all of baseball last year for the first 2 months. And then it seemed like the players, the new players that, JD Martinez stepping up, Jose Iglesias stepping up, the more distinguished catch, guys like Luis Torrens that they brought in mid-season compared to guys like Omar Narvaez, who was terrible. Like those types of players kind of helped them a little bit in the margins. Now you see them without them. It was an issue. And I don't know. I don't know if this core can be a core that can win. I don't know. But I'm willing to try with new coaches because I feel like these coaches have been here for way too long. Jeremy Hefner has been here since 2020. Chavez has been here since 2022. Same with Barnes. Then Chavez went to bench coach and then came back or whatever. I mean, there's definitely some guys who have been here for a long time and have been seen as the certain constant, even though we've had plenty of turnover. And the next thing would be the players. The next thing would be asking questions about Pete Alonso or asking questions about Jeff McNeil or asking questions about maybe Lindor or Soto or whatever. But we're not there yet, I guess. But I'm willing to have that discussion now. But if there was some kind of message that was being sent to this entire thing, it's that we believe in this core, at least one more go around, and we are willing to make the changes and willing to change the message that is being sent. And that message we will get into because throughout 4 years of Eric Chavez, who is going to be the guy that we rip into the most, obviously, he has done nothing but, I think, either I'm not going to say completely sabotage, but I'm not going to say not either, because again, that's from the meme sense. But he has basically done nothing but rage baited Mets fans. That's basically all he has really done with how public he is with this crap. And we'll get into it in a second, but the changes had to be made. They just had to, especially when you saw them fundamentally on the field. This team didn't even look like an 83-win team. No. Barely. For majority. It seemed like a team that would, at some point, would get, like these blowout wins at these current moments. Or they had some kind of department doing the most heavy lifting. It didn't look like a team. There's plenty of factors. We're not going to sit here and say the problem's been solved, because it hasn't been. But when you're talking about how prepared this team looked every night, how inconsistent this team looked at every night, it falls on the coaching. And you and me know better than anything that we're not going to sit here and not hold the players accountable either. Because we've talked about this with our other team, the Rangers. We've talked about this. They're undergoing their fourth coach right now. And we don't even care that they have a new coach right now because it's the same uncoachable players who have been an issue. So we'll rip into the players too. It's not like they don't have that accountability, but when you're talking about leadership, the type of message that was being sent was either inconsistent, outdated, or it was nothing at all with no accountability. That's pretty much it. So as for all of the information that I do want to put out there, because this isn't the only information that you see here on the screen. As for everybody that has been let go, the future of them, let me just let everybody know of everything. Just choked at the wrong time. everything that is going on, and as for what they announced. So, Eric Chavez, Jeremy Barnes, co-hitting coaches, or whatever you want to call it, they are not coming back. Jeremy Hefner is not coming back. Mike Sarbaugh, not coming back. Glenn Sherlock, he was the catching coach for Francisco Alvarez. Also did it in the minors for a little bit, and also was our bench coach years ago. He is retiring from coaching. John Gibbons resigned. And then there is two guys, Desi Druskull, and Jose Rosado, I believe, that's the bullpen coach, who have been granted permission to seek jobs elsewhere. And then Danny Barnes, the strategy coach, he will be staying. And of course, the guy who has been the beacon of light out of this entire coaching staff, Antone Richardson, the first base coach, will be staying next year. We also know that Carlos Mendoza is going to be back next year. We know that Stearns will be back next year, and Steve Cohen's not selling the team. So there is the full-on update of what the staff is going to look like. Do we know what the replacements are going to be? We'll see where they pivot to. I know that there's been some names that have been talked about, whether they're more serious than others. But, we'll talk a little bit about that too. But obviously, I want to get into the main guy that we are glad is gone forever. We have talked about this guy constantly on our show. You guys have talked about him, but we haven't really fully, completely ripped into every single ridiculous thing that we have seen from the aspects of Eric Chavez. Now, Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes, they were co-hitting coaches, and even though that doesn't make much sense because there's like 8 teams that do that, again, say it as you will. But when it came to Eric Chavez, it was a completely different type of impact than the average hitting coach. Because when you talked about this entire thing here with Eric Chavez, there were so many different elements to it that I feel like a lot of either Mets fans weren't paying attention to, or Mets fans were maybe forgetting because of, the scattered winning in the process of it. But the amount of toxic message that was sent, the amount of lack of accountability, lack of any leadership whatsoever for any offensive consistency, it fell a lot on Eric Chavez because this was the type of sword that he put to the light. This is what he does. Like, he is vocal about it by himself. It's not the fact that, we got to blame someone. It's the fact that he has publicly backed up everything he has said, constantly has ran his mouth, and it got to a point where he was getting into fights with Mets fans on social media. That's how bad that this got. And whether he is seen as right or not, or some of the stuff that fans were saying to him, which I'm sure was disgusting, the fact that he was entertaining it in any way as a so-called professional. This is not just, a professional hitting coach. This is a guy who was a professional major leaguer for many years, 17 years in the big leagues. That's an issue. Massive issue. I mean, Evan, you see exactly what I've been seeing constantly from him. Not just this year, but it's just the fact of how vocal and how ridiculous this has gotten. It had to go. They had to clean this thing out. I mean, it had to be completely reset, because not only did they underperform, waste so much potential, waste so much talent, this guy was also a jerk.
Where do we begin here? This is where it gets interesting, because there's so much to unpack with the Chavez thing that it's like I don't even know where to start. I mean, do you start with already his message, like Matt's talking about on the way out, that, you know what, if there's one thing he's right about, he was right that they shouldn't have 2 hitting coaches. But to sit here and act like that was the reason you failed at your job, it just once again it sums up the entire Chavez regime of no accountability at all.
Yeah.
And the constant, and Matt and I talked about this all the time. This is where I was really annoyed with Stearns all year long, is not being proactive enough with getting rid of this guy, because there were so many opportunities where this team went on long losing streaks where you had a chance to fire this guy and you didn't. And you could have buried it with the fact that he's acting like a child on social media. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And the fact that it got to a point where at one season the players were like embracing that as well. It's like, who the fuck are you to rally around the fans? Like, did we not learn from 2021? But the thing is that just gets swept under this entire Chavez thing is the fact that it dates back years. And like you said, I mean, from the moment they hired him, 2022, that offense was not, that team was so fundamentally flawed, and their offense was just simply not good, to where there were warning signs during that 2022 season that this thing's going to fall apart. And come September and October, what do you know? It fell apart. And it was the story of his entire tenure as the hitting coach, where it was peaks and valleys, and it was extreme peaks and valleys. And the peaks were very rare, as we could tell this season, with the lack of runners in scoring position. I mean, how long were they in the conversation with teams like the Rockies with runners in scoring position this year? So that was the thing that I did not understand, is there were so many opportunities. You go back to Lindor, which we're going to talk more about.
Yeah.
This whole thing, Lindor telling him to do his job, basically. The Alvarez thing, which we're going to deep dive. It's like, how many chances did this guy get to where they were like, you know what, this is the final straw? It should have been a long time ago. And there's an argument that JD Martinez last year saved his job, because every time we heard credit from any of the hitters, it was to JD Martinez. Like Mark Vientos, oh yeah, JD Martinez really took me under my wing. Pete Alonso at the start of this year got external help. And then all of a sudden, as the season went on, Pete Alonso started to look a little bit less like the guy we saw early on in the year. Wonder why that is. Probably because he's not able to get the external help as easily as he is in the offseason. And the thing that I pointed to most throughout this year is, how come teams like the Astros, who were plugging and playing with the most random outfielders imaginable, were still able to get it done with runners in scoring position? And I know that they missed the playoffs, but that's still a team. The Cleveland Guardians, look at their playoff lineup. How come that team was able to get in the playoffs and find offensive success at points? But the Mets, when they have guys, especially when it's the jump from the minor leagues to the major leagues, Ronnie Mauricio, the start of the year, raking in AAA, comes to the major leagues. The guy can't, it looks like he's swinging a pool noodle up there. Francisco Alvarez we'll talk more about. And then, Luis Angel Acuna, not that I ever thought anything of him offensively, but it's just clear as day that there is an issue between AAA to the majors that Chavez is not able to help with.
Yeah, it's been a constant, either the puzzle pieces or the signs constantly that were there that, again, I understand if you don't want to pay attention to it and you just want to enjoy baseball or whatever, but from the technical standpoint of this team being a sustained winner, these were the types of conversations that needed to be had. And he told you this from the very beginning. I mean, this was from spring training in 2022, where he said, talking about his certain plate approach, saying that he's going to simplify things. We want them to go up to the plate with as little information as possible. We want their athletic ability to take over. Not to mention the team that they put together in 2022 was a bunch of veterans. A bunch of veterans not known for either their lower half. I mean, what was this inclined to? Starling Marte, who was like 33 at the time and ended up undergoing this the double groin surgery right after this season. I mean, this was his message constantly, talking about how we simplify things and we think that we're smarter than we usually are. And I'm not going to use any of this type of information. I'm going to use this information as, something that can obviously branch out to something that I'm telling you that you're doing wrong. That's not what a hitting coach does. It isn't.
And in 2025, you're sending guys up there with no information. I mean,
unbelievable.
It's just so ass backwards. And I'm sure we're going to talk about it, but that thread that came out in the middle of the year, I forgot what Met account tweeted about them swinging late intentionally. It is ridiculous.
I can't. It's unreal. I mean, this is the dinosaur way of saying things. This is literally a dinosaur way of putting things out, saying basically, I'm not going to give you out in all of this information. I'm just going to tell you to just go out there.
Whatever happens, happens.
Yeah, whatever happens, happens. And that was another thing, which I don't even have bookmarked here. I'm sure, you can tag me in this type of screenshot, which I'm sure all of us have. I'm sure plenty of us have. You can probably DM it to me. It's probably buried beneath my camera roll at this point. But he talked about, an interview that he had. Obviously, this was in 2022. And they asked him about this entire approach that he has. And he's always so vocal about it because he's so vocal on social media about this shit. He always says this vocally. It's not the fact that, again, the results are bad, let's fire the guy who is coaching the guys with the results. No, it's the fact that this guy vocally says that all of you are wrong, I am right, and you can't do anything about it because I'm the guy in the seat. Because he didn't say that just because of players or strong-arming players, which we'll get into the strong-arming of players like such as Francisco Alvarez, as we've talked about before. But also strong-arming fans. Yeah, you can send me whatever.
Yeah, I tagged you in a few threads that are just Chavez related that I could find from your account.
Yeah, the thing is, I mean, there's so many different things about, whether it was the same offense or the exact same offense. I mean, there was so many different things under Barnes or... I mean, again, there's this one, what is that one screenshot that we have from his Instagram story or whatever, like that we talk about all the time?
About pulling the ball. Yeah, let me find I can't find it from yours. I'm going to try to find it from
It's unbelievable.
Twitter.
It's actually unbelievable how this is a hitting coach in the year of 2025.
Oh, here we go. I found it. I'll tag you in it.
Yeah.
Because this is the main one, the screenshot of the Instagram story. This is like
this is like the main one where he was asked about his entirety of his philosophy and what the message that he relays to hitters, saying, I'm not going to talk about launch angle. I'm not going to talk. When the ball leaves the bat, whatever happens, happens. So we're going to try and control what happens in the box and in the mind and create consistency. He then captioned this on his Instagram story saying, I'm not going to budge on this. As things change in how smart we think we get, keeping it simple always wins. Well, guess what? Keeping it simple
gets you fired.
Like, literally... Imagine that being your philosophy. Whatever happens, happens. Just let the ball come to you. Let the hits come to you. Meditate, and the ball will come to you. The hits will come to you. That was the message that was just sent to you. And that's what's been going on for, I don't know, if you want to say 3 years, because he was the bench coach for one of them. But this has been going on for 4 years now. 4 years now, these guys are just waiting. And it does make sense when we talk about, like that thread that we were saying of the Mets kind of like purposely swinging late. We talked about this on the my show as well, from Mets Analytics, talking about the Mets, whether they are purposely swinging late. And not to mention, with the Mets having one of the highest bat speeds in all of baseball, they're the only ones with an actual oppo approach, which makes no sense. Why would you minimize bat speed? Why would you do that? That makes absolutely no sense. Not to mention the amount of strikes that they stare at, the amount of non-sitting fastball. This was another thing. Fastball, and then all of a sudden they start sitting fastball, but then Eric Chavez publicly says, oh yeah, we're sitting fastball now. You fucking idiot! Why are you saying this publicly? Like, this is what I mean with him. He doesn't know when to shut up.
Yeah, it's just like,
he doesn't know when to shut up.
Away the strategy to everyone.
Like, why?
I also DM'd you something else that I think that everyone.
Yeah, oh, trust me, we can get into so much of this. And then there's Francisco Alvarez. Poor Francisco Alvarez. This dude's got this guy has to deal with so many different broken fingers and broken hands, broken thumbs, not to mention a broken brain because of this asshole. It's unreal.
Yeah, this is the one where it's like, this alone, the Alvarez thing by itself should have got Chavez fired. When you are telling your number one prospect that you held on to, by the way, because you could have maybe traded him to get Juan Soto earlier. You didn't do it because of Francisco Alvarez. And you have your hitting coach telling you, yeah, you hit 25 home runs. Do you think that was a good season? Because I didn't. We got to change your entire hitting approach. It's like, imagine telling a 21-year-old top prospect in baseball, yeah, you're not doing it right. He can't grasp the fact that development isn't linear, and he can't grasp the fact that players have certain hit tools. He's here because of his power. He's not here to hit singles. He's not here to hit the ball to the opposite field, because I'm not telling you that everyone in the offense needs to be that way. That's unrealistic to ask for. But when his main threat is his power, why are you minimizing it? It's the same thing with Alonso. How many times was Alonso trying to go opposite field at points?
Yeah.
And that's a bat where I wonder if he hits 50 home runs with a smart hitting coach. I wonder if he could do it again.
Possible. Because, again, he hit 53 home runs in his rookie year. Obviously, the juice balls was a factor in there or whatever. But ever since then, has he come close to that prolific level before? No. Meanwhile, you got guys like Aaron Judge you can write in for 50 every year. Schwarber you can write in for 40, 50 every year. And Pete's kind of fallen behind. He definitely has in those numbers. And I'm not saying that he has no power left and they sucked all the power out of it, but those extra little home runs that he probably could have had with the power he has could have helped. Definitely could have helped the offense.
Yeah,
but
Brian's
for some reason,
he maybe could have had 140 RBIs this year.
Probably. Very possible. Exactly. James Dowling said, it seems like you should coach the players to strengths. Yeah, wouldn't it be cruel if you did that? Be so cool, wouldn't it? I mean, from this entire article alone, this is when I started to just really start to get the hammer down on Eric Chavez. Like, really started. I did not like him from the start. But when he said this publicly, so effortlessly, of how it was seen, of how it was seen, and the response that he expected to get, asinine, saying that, instead Chavez said that the problems from, I believe it was Alvarez's 2023, saying the mentality at the plate and mixed messages that might confuse him. Chavez referenced outside noise and voices, said that he doesn't know who that encouraged Alvarez to chase home runs to left field, the opposite of a more rounded approach that led to his success upon returning in June. He said, I've been trying to tell him for the past couple of weeks, he's a high-performance sports car. He needs to learn how to drive the car in second gear before he got to the fourth gear, fifth gear, and it goes. He needs to learn how to pump the brakes a little bit and control all that horsepower. I told him, listen, you hit 25 home runs last year. That's great. I looked at your year and I didn't think it was very good. There's a lot of areas that you can get better at. We can continue this saying even for the strongest hitters, hitting is more than just the long ball. Saying everyone wants to jump into home runs. We've seen it across the league. We promote home runs. Batting average isn't talked about. I said to Alvarez, in a couple of years, you will be the best hitting catcher in the league, but you got to learn how to hit first. Let's get your hit tool down and the power will come. It's there. The power is in the bag. You got to make sure that hit tool and the consistency is there. What the fuck? This is what he said to a 21-year-old kid.
Said it publicly.
This is what he said. Not saying let's build on this. Let's change this completely and turn you into a contact hitter as a 75 raw power grade as a prospect. Are you fucking kidding me? And not to mention, if he's going to talk about the results, he's gotten even worse. In so many stretches, he's gotten even worse. And I wonder where Francisco Alvarez's success came from towards the end of the year. Could it have been the power?
Yeah, when he reverted back to his swing from 2023, like someone talked about in the chat before, I really wonder what happened there. It's almost like when he's actually trying to pull the ball, because I don't know if you guys know this, but it's basic physics that you're naturally going to hit the ball harder when you're trying to pull it. I don't know if this is hard to understand, but apparently it is for a certain someone that has no success in the postseason, by the way, in his MLB career. But when you pull the ball, you hit it harder. It's really not that difficult to understand. But no,
the highest exit velocities come
that?
from the pull side. It does.
No, why would you want to do that though? And that was like the whole conversation too, where it's like there would be so many times where people are like, "Oh, see, he's hitting the ball hard," and it's like in the ground. Like you're leaving out the context. In that as well. And Dakota,
but it was also the fact
apparently Eric Chavez doesn't understand that.
Apparently not. Yeah, exactly. Apparently not. And this has been the message that has been sent for the past 4 years. So it also just comes into the context of what we were seeing visually from Francisco Alvarez. One thing that I can't stand with hitters is when they leave damage on the table. When they leave, middle fastballs and they take it to the opposite field. If you have a pullable pitch, you should try to pull it. Like that's what I mean. And obviously there's late movement, there's this, there's that. But as for a hitting coach that says he's not giving them that much information, how would you know? How would they know? How would these hitters know if there's a certain pitch that has that certain movement that they can't pull or should try to pull or look to pull or they should hunt? How would they know when they have a hitting coach saying that we're going to give you the least amount of information as possible? I mean, this is his message from day one. We're going to simplify things. We're going to give you the little information as possible. So it all connects, doesn't it? It all does. But when we talk about damage, there was plenty of times where inside pitches were being taken to the opposite field by Francisco Alvarez, which, again, there's some of these pitches that can tie batters across. They can tie batters in. But again, taking inside pitches to the opposite field, that's another thing that Brett Baty does a lot. Brett Baty does that even more than Francisco Alvarez.
Yeah, Game for War commenting about it.
Yeah. There's so many times Game for War saying it's a myth that doesn't work. It only creates weak ground balls since they aim down.
Yeah,
exactly.
The first comment about Baty too, that telling him to aim down.
Yeah, that's another thing. Brett Beatty being public saying, aiming down on the ball. That's what we're trying to do. My top hand. I'm trying. What are we teaching? Like, what is this? What is this message? And listen, I have been critical of Brett Beatty for a long time. I think that there's plenty of other things that are not fantastic about Brett Beatty. But when it comes to Beatty, if they were to bring in a hitting coach that actually gives you a certain message of, I don't know, damage or actually
gives information,
gives information, an actual, preaches pitch recognition of what the plan is and what the approach is, then I probably would have a lot more hope for Brett Beatty. I would say that, Brett Beatty, he hits the ball hard. He's got a quick bat inside. Not great against the secondaries, but if he did have that pitch recognition a lot better that was preached by hitting coaches, maybe I would be a little bit more hopeful for Brett Beatty. Again, there's other things about him that I'm not thrilled about, but it does go with coaching. It does. And it does show you when you see Alvarez, Beatty, Vientos, Mauricio beat the living crap out of the ball in AAA. It shows every single time. And we'll get into a possible replacement for a guy that I think would fit perfectly, who is the hitting coach for AAA that has made comments about the young guys. And they are completely different from what Eric Chavez's philosophy is.
Yeah. And I mean, just more of the comments too, like Brian said, hit the ball hard with a negative 140 degree launch angle. Just like that's the shit that he preached. And I don't know what YouTuber Game for War's talking about, but a hitting coach that yelled about Chavez, what he did to Beatty, I mean,
wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah. I mean, we've been talking about this ad nauseum all year. And the other thing I do want to preface in all this before, for some reason, there are people that still defended Chavez or just like, oh, the hitting coach doesn't matter. There's that crowd. I want nothing more than for them to be proven wrong next year. I freaking hope that they are. And
I would love for it.
I'm not sitting here telling you that this is going to be the magic fix. You still have to get talented baseball players, but this at least will hopefully give some consistency from your top guys offensively, because a team that was built on their offense should not have had this many peaks and valleys. It's just that simple.
And when the rookies get away from Chavez, they rake. We've seen them get away from Chavez and do well. And we've also seen little glimmers of guys who come back from AAA, like Alvarez or Beatty. They start off very hot. But then, as the weeks go along, they just start to fizzle out. Like, that's the whole thing. It always just seems like they're never ahead of it. And when they ever are ahead of it, you always have this asshole constantly, vocally saying, oh, we're ahead of it. We're great. Because he'll go on Instagram when you see, their numbers with runners in scoring position for the last 3 games. Eric Chavez, told you. You insecure bitch. That's what you are.
That's the other thing I didn't even talk about with him, just on a personal level, with the shit he would do on Instagram. My favorite is when he would post that edit where it's like, oh yeah, they're mad at you when you're not even the one playing. You're just the coach and they're getting mad at you. But then when there's that week of success, he's the first person to tell you that, oh, look at what I did. This is all thanks to me. You can't have it both
exactly.
ways.
Yeah, you can't have it both ways. And that's the way that some, Mets fans will look at it too. Like that is one thing of, it only matters if it's good. Like we were talking about it, like when they had a really good win-loss record in April or May, we were saying it's like that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter right now. And that's not something that you need to look at as a crutch for this team not getting better at anything. But then all of a sudden, they end up not, but then all of a sudden the excuse as well will be, they're this many games over 500. Like this is what I mean. It's like you can't have it both ways. And this is another representation of how this guy is. we also had another story that came out too about Francisco Lindor. This was in April of 2025, talking about with Eric Chavez, basically telling him to do his fucking job.
I don't get how this doesn't get him fired.
I don't know. Chavez, he says, I kind of lost my way because it's just a different way of navigating the day. Even though I've been there before, I still had to feel my way around. It was like, okay, how are we going to make this dynamic work again? So Lindor pulled me aside He's like, dude, what, where are you at? And and I was like, what do you mean? He said, we need to hear from you. You need to step up. And I didn't take that personally. Honestly, I went home and I was like, he's right. He said, so I told Lindor, you remind me of me. It's very typical. Hot streaks when you look good, when it's sometimes it's like where you go, and you're going to see things like that with our guys who play every day, stretches that aren't very appealing. He's playing a demanding position. He's playing much of the captain on this team. There's a lot, so it's very understandable. I just can't listen. Like, I really cannot listen to this, where we're legitimately seeing of a headline specifically towards Eric Chavez of him being a no-show in the clubhouse and the players asking for them to help him, and he's not. And this also just goes to the fact of why do we have two other hitting coaches, and that's another thing that Eric Chavez did point out, of course, because that had to be his outgoing line because he always needs the last word. All this guy has done throughout his entire career, when he was a player, all he did was run his mouth. That's all he has done. And he's never backed it up. Never. He's never backed it up. Let me know if you guys can hear this, because, again, this is Eric Chavez. Here's Eric Chavez, once again, talking about if what the Dodgers are doing is good for baseball. Putting up the Mets versus Dodgers logo like they're in some kind of competition with them. Let me know if you guys can hear this.
The quote. Oh, no.
I don't know if it's...
This is what the Dodgers
You guys
do.
hear it?
Yeah, we can
You guys hear it? Okay.
Good for baseball. I don't know. I'm excited for 2025. I'll tell you that. First thing I did was look on the schedule, see when we're playing them. Can't wait. Back in the late 90s, 2000, Evil Empire coming to Oakland Coliseum.
Back then in the 90s and it ain't the 90s and 2000s anymore, buddy.
The Lonely A's versus the New York Yankees. We competed. You know, they obviously beat us in the playoffs a couple times, but they're both.
Yeah, because
One was a little bit better than we were, but I accepted the challenge. I loved it. Didn't feel like an underdog. Didn't care that they were making more money than we were. David and Goliath, that's the way I felt. Let's go. I'm just glad I'm with an owner now that is willing to compete in the current climate. Now, is it a sustainable business plan? I have no idea. We'll see. The next agreement should be interesting. Baseball is exciting. Cam Newton, I disagree. Baseball ain't going nowhere, my friend. Come on out to a set.
I can't even just describe. This is what I mean. The clues were there for everyone to see for 4 straight years. It's not just, oh, we're keeping tabs on this to just make him look bad. This is information that is out there publicly. Right out there. All this guy does is run his mouth. That's all he has done throughout his entire career, as a coach, as a this or that. All he does is run his mouth. That's all he does.
It's a shame they didn't get to showcase his great hitting coach abilities in a playoff matchup versus the Dodgers this go around.
It sucks. It really does suck. I'm gonna lie, and this is not for nothing, obviously, because again, I can pop this up, and this is kind of just low hanging fruit fruit here. But does anybody know who one of the worst postseason hitters of all time is?
This is what I DM'd you.
This is what you DM me?
I
Okay,
DM'd
hold
you
on.
his playoff stats.
Oh, hold on. Yep. There you go.
Yep.
There you go. He is a
guy.
career 555 OPS hitter across 132 plate appearances.
By the way,
This
Gold
is your
Glove
hitting
winner,
coach.
Gold Glove winner, but for some reason, the Mets were so poor defensively because I'm sure that he couldn't focus on that. Like, heaven forbid he would multitask at all. But yeah, this is the guy that runs his mouth.
Yeah, this is your hitting coach right here. This is the big, amazing track record of Eric Chavez. And again, this is low-hanging fruit because, who knows? Because again, postseason's the postseason, but when we saw this team come up short in so many of these situations over these last 4 years and underperform offensively, even though they had the talent, coming up in the big spots, that sounds like, I don't know, that sounds a little bit like a postseason thing, coming up big. I mean, I don't know if I ever tweeted it, but probably. I probably have tweeted it out, but I have talked about it before. Maybe if I can pull this up, I don't know. But let's see if it's here. I don't know.
Sometimes it's weird when you try to filter.
Yeah, I don't know. It's postseason playoffs. I don't know. I'm trying not to have weird ass shit pop up. Here it is. I mean, here's win probability added. Eric Chavez is the sixth lowest sixth lowest bat among win probability added in the postseason in history. This is not just over the last 10 years, He's one of the lowest. He's one of the worst postseason hitters of all time. Again, that's the guy that we're getting the message from. So what does that say? Could it say that, I don't know, Eric Chavez is just a fraud? Probably is, right?
No, it can't be that. All these quotes, I mean, I think he knows what's up.
Yeah.
And then
Sending a phenomenal message.
Did we even read the quote or put it up, what he said on the way out about the 2 hitting coach thing?
No, we didn't even do that. Yeah, I can pop that up. I'm trying not to have things. I'm hoping that like nobody's saying, fucked up things. This is Eric Chavez on his way out today or these last few days. I don't know what it was. Basically saying that it would be in the Mets' best interest to avoid using 2 co-hitting coaches as they did with him and Barnes over the last 2 years. You cannot have 2 hitting coaches, 2 voices. Ultimately, one person needs to have the voice. Jeremy and I made it work. We have a good working relationship, but it was definitely not ideal. Okay. I agree. I agree that 2 hitting coaches, we've talked about it. 2 chefs, you have no chef. 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. That works on
6 alternate captains, you don't have a captain.
Yeah, so many alternate captains, you don't have a captain. You don't have a lot of culture changers if you have too many culture changers. But anyways, I agree with that. I do. I 100% agree with that. But when you're saying that Jeremy and I made it work, no, you did not. You did not make it work. Because if you did make it work, I would have a World Series trophy that I could flex.
And
you didn't.
On top of this, all this tells me is that Jeremy Barnes probably suggested Yeah, let's maybe go with a little bit more of a modern hitting coach. And he's like, nah, we're not doing that. What I say goes. I'm the top dog, if you will.
Yeah. He's the top dog. I mean, and this is the thing. A lot of all of this gets hidden behind the fact that the Mets offense, like, at face value, wasn't bad. Like, that's the thing. It wasn't bad, but individually of how it went together, of the little things being done correctly, they couldn't. And it lied on the coaching. And it's not just the hitting that was an issue. We've had plenty of issues from the pitching, defensively, base running, plenty of stuff. But when we're talking about Eric Chavez for the last 4 years, can anyone think of when this offense was actually maximized to its fullest potential under Eric Chavez? I can't think so.
Nope. I mean, I could give you another name of a guy that comes here, and granted, there were red flags about him beforehand, but he comes here and they got quite literally the worst version you possibly could get of a guy like Eduardo Escobar. Like, all of a sudden, he was just unplayable.
Yeah, true. Eduardo Escobar as well. I wasn't so happy about that signing, but again, it was a veteran hitter from both sides of the plate who can at least, put bat to ball in certain situations. And he was unplayable for a majority of his Mets career too.
That entire 2022 offense sums up to a T what was wrong with him, where it's like it did not matter the win total. So much of that offense was just minimized and horrible because of him.
Yeah.
Because all they were doing was playing small ball and hitting singles. That's why when it came down to it in September, I felt this team's not going anywhere.
Yeah. And first round exit. That was what they were. A complete first round exit. And that was it. Again, you're seeing not just the fact of the production, whether you're talking about, the guys who performed well or the guys who performed good under Eric Chavez or were better or whatever. It's the fact of how it all gelled together. The message that was sent was not good. It wasn't a good message whatsoever. And we've given you countless of information and countless of instances where either Chavez or Barnes, but Chavez, since he's so vocal, if he wasn't so vocal, no one would be going after him this much. That's the thing. If he wasn't so vocal and talked so much shit constantly of how amazing he is, when we know goddamn well that ain't the truth, if he wasn't so vocal with this and constantly needed to be the center of attention constantly, no one would be going for him the way that they have been. And I'm not going to sit here and condone what all Mets fans have been sending to Eric Chavez and stuff that they've been doing with his family. That's a different level of ridiculousness. But you put a main target on your back. I'm not trying to blame him for everything that's going on here with, fans sending him death threats or whatever, because that's a different level. However, when it came to Eric Chavez, he brought it on himself. He would egg it on constantly.
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many screenshots on Twitter of this guy flexing when the Mets did something very bare minimal. When the Mets scored 7 runs in a game, here's Eric Chavez 2 minutes later after the last pitch on Instagram saying, well, haha, I win.
We beat the Nationals, everyone.
We beat up the Nationals. We beat the Reds once, which you didn't do many times.
We scored runs against the Rockies. Look at us.
Yeah, and this is the thing. It's like, and what did that get you? Fired.
And
I'm surprised it took this long.
Earlier. Yeah,
should have gotten fired earlier.
Yeah,
I have not been a fan.
Pittsburgh, I felt that was the perfect chance to fire him.
I'm telling you right now, the one thing that I've wanted more than almost anything one on my list in regards to the Mets, one on my list is the Mets to win a World Series. The second for the last 4 years has been for this guy to get fired. That is how much I think that he is a toxic messenger. And I'm not going to sit here and say that he is the only problem. There's plenty of problems. But I have never wanted someone gone more than Eric Chavez. And now I finally got what I wanted. A little too late than it should have been, but I finally got what I wanted. Because this guy, it's not just the results or this being inconsistent or that. It's so many different factors that made him so different from any other hitting coach, and not in a good way.
It is the results too, because the only time the offense was ever consistent under his regime was the only time was when JD Martinez was here. Like I said earlier, it was half a season where you can't even give him the credit. And even then, there were times last year where, you know, the offense was performing better. Like they had that great series against the Atlanta Braves, and then they started to fade off a little bit again, and it just was peaks and valleys again. Because how many times during games did we talk about, not even just this year, but last year during Chavez's regime, where you either let a starting pitcher off the hook, they either didn't get a hit against the bullpen, or they would have like 1 or 2 innings where they'd score runs, maybe a third inning if you're lucky, and the rest of the game it's 1, 2, 3, not even like putting pressure on, drawing walks, getting men on base. It was just those innings where the offense showed up, and that was it.
Yeah, I mean, it's the fact of the message that's being sent, the philosophy, whatever you want to call it, the approach. It was either easily exposed, other pitchers would make adjustments, and there was no adjustments made on the other half. And it just constantly just continued to show exactly what I have known for the last 4 years about this guy, that he is an outdated, arrogant piece of shit constantly. Because this is all he has shown. He's shown this publicly, that no matter what, I am going to be a piece of shit. Meanwhile, this is a guy in his 40s. This is a guy in his 40s still behaving like this and responding to trolls on social media.
Yeah, has kids also as well, by the way. Unk's gotta stay offline. But also, hey, you do have to give him credit. He did make an adjustment, but he had to tell the world about the adjustment because of how good it was. Yeah.
Because any point of emphasis, anything that makes him look like a genius, it has to be full on, completely put into stadium lights, because it's so important that everybody knows that Eric Chavez is a genius. He's got to let everyone know on Instagram. He's got to let everybody know. He tells Steve Gelbs where everything is fine. Steve Gelbs does a nice little report on the sideline, as we all love to hear, while the Mets usually play like shit during all of his reports. I mean, he said, oh, well, publicly I'm going to say, okay, because, you know, I'm not going to use my brain because my brain thinks my brain is amazing. So I don't think anything else. We're going to tell everyone publicly, because apparently I think social media only goes out to my friends. I'm going to say publicly, yeah, we're sitting fastball. What do you think pitchers are going to do with that fucking information? Like, how stupid are you? Does he think that nobody listens to the SNY broadcast? Does he think it's just Mets fans? Like, are you genuinely stupid? To be honest, also, taking months to figure out that you should be sitting fastball too is another thing. How, like, are you dumb?
Does he not realize as well that clips go around from the broadcast?
Yeah.
I don't understand it. I really don't understand how he could be this dumb.
Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Really is. And Barnes, it seemed like he was less vocal Seemed like he was less vocal. That's another thing. But I don't know. Again, Eric Chavez was the one who put himself in this seat because he constantly said over and over and over again how much of a genius he was. He would show it over and over and over again. And trust me, these Instagram posts, I could bring them up. You can search up right now on Twitter, Eric Chavez Instagram. And there'll be plenty of screenshots of this guy just flapping his lips constantly. Like, you literally could do this. Just type that in. I think Evan's doing that right now.
Yeah,
and to be honest, I should do it right now without anything on the screen just to make sure nothing gets
honestly,
popped
there's
up.
a certain Twitter user where I can't do it because of or you shouldn't because of a certain Twitter user. You know who he is. We find him funny, but he tweets some unhinged shit sometimes.
Yeah.
I think you know who I'm talking about, who really got into it with Chavez with the pancake thing this year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I found one that I'm gonna send you in a DM right now.
Like,
and just
are you
caption of it's
fucking
making
kidding me?
Laugh right now.
He's like, he's taking credit for it.
I just sent you one.
No.
Yeah, that was that was part of it. I just sent it to you.
No.
Like, are you like, you are 40 years old, dude. 40. Unbelievable. I don't know how that he has gotten away with this for so long.
I'm sending you more now. This is just
It's
too easy.
unbelievable.
It's too easy.
Like, meanwhile, you're wasting potential in quoting Wayne Gretzky and then also putting in Michael Scott as well. Like, what? Who are you? Seriously. Like, who actually takes this seriously? Unbelievable. It's crazy. It's crazy how this guy was employed for this long. I don't get how. In what way? I have no clue. There's so many red flags that were pointed out that he showed publicly that we were all just like, oh, well, who cares, right?
I don't think this made it to his story, but this is just funny because of the caption of it, because it's just so true that it would have.
Yeah,
like, I'm surprised
appearing on it. Like, this is what I mean. This was a actual thing. Appearing on Eric Chavez's Insta story shortly. Unreal, man. Just unreal. Crazy. How is a professional hitting coach allowed to be doing this over and over and over again? Unreal. Now, obviously, there's plenty of other stuff that you can get into. Obviously, again, like there's countless.
Hashtag not brain rot in the chat from Brian. It's just killing me. Like,
It's
how
just-
old are you?
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable how this constantly, like, this is not a usual hitting coach impression where people say, oh, well, the hitting coach doesn't matter. The hitting coach doesn't matter. This is this and that. This is so much different from your average hitting coach. I mean, it's the Mets, so what else? But, like, this guy, what the hell? How is this a professional? How?
Saying brain rot with gray hair is crazy.
Yeah. Like, what? It's just, you can go on forever. You can go on forever. Like, there's some stuff that I'm sure we haven't even mentioned yet.
Yeah, it's hard to even keep up with just because there's
Yeah.
there's
You
that
can't put it
much-
all in one place.
It's unbelievable. I mean, I'm trying to find more. I don't know if I'm going to, but all I could say is that it's unbelievable that there was this much. We talked about Hefner for the first 20 minutes or so, and ever since then it's been Chavez, and we still have more that we probably haven't talked about.
Yeah. Because it's more it's just so prominent with this guy that it's been going on for years.
It's
just it's so insane to me. Now, obviously, the next question that comes with Eric Chavez, because obviously I don't want to bag on him for too long. It's the fact that the Mets, even though he is someone who needed to go, who is going to solve this problem? Who is going to help and improve this problem? Because you can get rid of as many guys as possible. We've said this so many times about managers and coaches. There is one guy who I think is being considered for it, and I hope is, and that being JP Arencibia. I don't know if I said that correctly. He is the AAA hitting coach, or excuse me, the bench coach for the AAA use. And he was, talking a little bit about publicly when Alvarez was optioned down to AAA this year, talking about the entirety of what he thinks about Alvarez and his hitting ability. And they asked him. Now, obviously, this sounds a little bit of a mixed message compared to what we're hearing from a guy such as Eric Chavez. But let's pull this up. It was a New York Times article, which I'm sure is going to have trials on it or whatever. Let me switch over here because for this, it's letting me do this. Allow me to... Yeah, there we go. Cool. I think it should be good now. Okay. So let me just zoom in on this a little bit so you guys can see it. Now, obviously, when he was sent down to AAA Syracuse, this was back in July before he obviously got injured again. They asked JP about him as, his swing mechanics and them kind of readjusting some things. But when Alvarez back in Syracuse, he said that my confidence is not low right now, but I am going to tell you but I'm not going to tell you it's very high too. So he was very mixed in that point, saying that my confidence is always there, but a part of my game, it's a part of my game and it's a part of my mindset. So for me, it's always there, but I'm not 100%. We can say that it is 90% at this current moment. So when they asked JP about this, about this, I'm trying to find the quote. Let's see. Yeah. So he says this about Alvarez. He says, honestly, he's been unbelievable. He comes in, he wants to see video, he wants to go over stuff. He's been much more open. Sometimes going to AAA, players may think it's a wake-up call, but I think sometimes it's more of an opportunity to take a breath. He had one quote where he talked about, his God-given ability of how he needs to tap into it. I don't know if it was this or that. Somebody needs to find it, because it was basically just talking about how he needs to tap into what he is good at and basically be the hitter that he is. Now, JP has been a hitting coach in the minors before, but again, when you're seeing this sort of disconnect between guys like Eric Chavez and guys like JP, it's so weird to see things like this when they're in the same organization at the same time.
Yeah, looking at video, what's that?
Yeah, exactly. Looking at video, looking at this information. And I'm trying to find the quote. He said, I think it was this. Was it this? Yeah. Okay. So I think it was this. He said he's up here and he's had some success. In 23, he hit more than 20 homers. So we're trying to pay attention to try and find a happy middle. So they're trying to build on his power. That's so crazy considering the message that he was sent for multiple years after that year that he just had. He said that Alvarez's swing and setup resemble where he showcased power as a rookie, along with the home runs that season. Alvarez hit just 209, 284 on base percentage, poor figures, but from JP's perspective, though, Alvarez could have still built slowly on the foundation that he already had. He still can. Does that sound a little bit different from Mr. Genius Eric Chavez, who constantly preaches his delicious pancakes on his Instagram story? Does that sound a little bit different? Huh. Very interesting. It's about the message being sent, like we said. It's not about, what the results were, or what was this, or what was that. It's about the message being sent. And he's saying, this guy's God-given ability to hit the ball as hard as anybody. If you look at Alvarez's 2023, I give my dang right arm for that. You grow from what that was. I think he went a different way. I wonder what that different way is. I think by trying to be this guy, he wasn't. It was like any of us. We are our best versions of ourselves when we are fully authentic. That's what he is getting back to. So, who changed this? What changed so much? I wonder what changed.
Could it be the guy?
I really wonder what's changed.
Could it be the guy that makes pancakes? Could it?
Could be.
Hey,
Could
Eric,
it be the guy that makes pancakes?
Did you make pancakes with flour in it and think that was good? Because I didn't.
Yeah, I didn't.
Let me take away the main ingredient for pancakes and see what you could do.
Yeah. Who let Eric Chavez cook? Who? Because whoever did, they should be fired. And I think Billy Epler was the guy who hired him. So he's gone. But I want to thank Billy Epler for bringing in Eric Chavez. It's been a fantastic experience. But it basically just shows you that this guy not only doesn't help, but he also sends a message that not only underperforming is okay, but doing something completely different to what I want you to do is the only way to do it.
It's his way or no one's way.
Imagine. His way or the highway. Well, guess who's hitting the highway now? You are, Eric Chavez. We're going to still be here. You're gone. Good fucking riddance. Good riddance. Unbelievable. I mean, we can go on for this for hours because there's probably even more that we're missing. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, and I agree with some of the comments just talking about guys to potentially replace him. If JD Martinez wants to coach, I would want him. I don't know if he wants to, though.
He's made it public that he doesn't want to be a hitting coach. So
then, yeah, I mean, it's kind of just out the question.
I keep seeing people say it, but it's like he's been public many, many times. He's like, I don't want that job. But
yeah. If things change, then great. If not, then like I don't mind promoting from within if they end up doing that. I really don't.
Me neither.
Beltran is interesting, but I think he's probably more for the bench coach. If I had to guess, I feel like he's more of an option there. Just because I feel like they want to really like potentially have him in the wings as the next manager, or Beltran himself might want to be a manager at some point, and the best way to work up is probably being a bench coach first. So
yeah,
I have no clue. I mean, I don't even know. I'd have to look into other names, honestly, of like guys that have been fired recently, potentially that maybe shouldn't have been, or whatever else is out there. I saw someone say Pujols earlier. Too bad he's going to be the Angels manager. So, joke's on you.
Artie Moreno is stepping in. He's was I don't even know how do we say he's running towards the link, I guess. He's running for it. I don't know. He's entering. He's holding a ball at midcourt right now. But we did get some other information from Mike Puma about 5 minutes ago. This just got tweeted out of the contract situations for the coaches that were fired, saying that officially the departing coaches, Jeremy Hefner, with Jeremy spelled wrong. Thank you, Puma. Saying that he had a 2026 team option that ended up getting declined. Mike Saraball's contract was set to expire, so he was let go. But Eric Chavez and Jeremy Barnes each had a year left on their respective contracts, and they end up getting let go. So it looks like they're going to be getting paid next year to fuck off. So cool. That makes me feel that they actually believe that they need to change this hitting philosophy, which is good.
Yeah,
which definitely sits well for me. And then obviously John Gibbons steps aside. He resigned, and I guess there was some kind of text message that he sent, I think, to someone of the New York Post. I don't know if it was Puma. Was it this? Yeah, saying this. Saying that it's time for a new adventure. We see where baseball takes me. Time for a fresh face in that job. Mendy and Stearns are the real deal, and the team is in great hands. And we're not going to sit here and say that David Stearns and Mendy have all done great jobs. There's plenty of stuff that needs to be evaluated in that way, but this was the first step to figuring out what needs to change within this organization, because it wasn't just getting rid of the personnel on the roster. They had to clean out this coaching staff. Artie's gonna make Albert Pujols look like Jeff Saturday. Yep. That's so funny. Anyways, yeah. So again, the guys that end up going, like we said, Eric Chavez, who we didn't really spend that much time on. Jeremy Barnes, who is a co-hitting coach as well, who's not as vocal. He's basically his, I guess he's his henchman or whatever. Mike Sarball, third base coach. Also, he was in charge of the infield defense alignment as well. So that, I think, is what got him fired, to be honest. I really do believe that was what got him fired, and not the third base coach, even though he wasn't great as a third base coach. And then Jeremy Hefner goes as well, somebody that we didn't expect to go. But again, I understand wanting to move on from Jeremy Hefner as well, because he's been here for, this is what, technically maybe fifth, if you want to talk about the full season in 2020, which again, I'm sure plenty of players like Hefner, and I'm sure plenty of people in baseball like Hefner, but it went on too long as to where it was like, he's not an untouchable asset. And then of course, Glenn Sherlock, like we said, he's retiring as a coach. He was their catching coach. He was also their bench coach many years ago. And then John Gibbons is stepping aside. So we'll see. I think Gibbons, it looks like he was the one who made the decision. So he resigned. It looks like he was going to move on. But again, like you said, like earlier, you said Gibbons was basically falling asleep for a majority. And listen, he's an old man. He's not young, listen, I got nothing against John Gibbons. So
I forgot who tweeted it, but I remember Mendoza got ejected from one game, and so Gibbons had to make the pitching changes. He's like, this is gonna take a while because Gibbons has to make the trot out to the mound this time.
He's 60. He's 63 years old, so he's not a young pup. All right, that's definitely up there. We can't just say he's a young spry guy. All right, that's basically just it.
I mean, I do wonder if they hire a different old guy as one of the coaches who just got fired in Ron Washington.
Maybe.
Which
could be.
I would not mind if he's the third base coach, honestly, because I remember the Braves really I remember, I forgot if it was Albies or Austin Riley, but one of them was just like praising the work that he did for helping them out defensively and being one of the better infield defenses in baseball. So if he's open to a third base coaching job, I wouldn't mind that. I'd have to look into other names though with everything else.
It's just I'm not even here to talk about solutions. I'm just happy this is done. I'm happy. Like I said, this is second on my list behind the Mets winning a World Series. That's how passionate I despised this man, Eric Chavez. That's how much. And whether he's watching or not, he probably is right now because he's got nothing to do. I'm glad you're gone, and I will look directly into the camera. I'm glad you're gone. I'm 100% glad you're gone. But as for these other ones, like we said, they had to clean this out because they just did not look like a prepared baseball team for a majority of the season. And that's basically even some of the wins that they had discombobulated. I mean, the show, the showing on the field, it was very noticeable. Now I'm never getting his pancakes, to be honest. They probably taste like shit. Not gonna lie. The pancakes probably taste like shit because there's nothing else that this guy seems to be doing right at the right time. So I don't know. Especially during October, I wouldn't trust him to do that. I wouldn't trust him to cook pancakes in October.
Let him get into a pancake duel with the Dodgers. He'll show him what's up.
This is also very true. 63 isn't old for a coach. I mean, half and half. Let's just say that. Gibbons just looks older because he's a 86 alumni, hard partying all the time. Yeah, that could be a possibility. His pancakes should give you food poisoning, possibly.
Hey, Brandon Nimmo had food poisoning every now and then.
He did.
Maybe it was from Chavez.
Brandon Nimmo has had more. Brandon Nimmo has had more bigger moments when not healthy, like more nauseous. Like he's had undercooked chicken. He fainted once, and he's had like big moments doing that, which is crazy. But again, different story. I'm just glad this is done. I am glad that this era of Mets baseball is complete, and I'm just glad that if any hitter that the Mets do bring in, any piece that they bring in, they will not be, having a message sent to them from the mouth of Eric Chavez, Jeremy Barnes, even Jeremy Hefner, because, again, walks are walks, and they could be killer, too. And there's plenty that went on with the pitching side of things. But this is just, it had to happen. Had to happen. There's no other way that this could have gone. You had to make some kind of a change, and I'm glad that they emphasized this. I'm really glad. And especially shows you a lot of Chavez and Barnes with them having another year on their contract. They were willing to just cut this thing out.
Yeah, and it shows that what we heard from Stearns in his press conference, he means what he said, that, this shit was unacceptable. And that's why changes had to be made, because when you have the payroll you do, when you play months of bad baseball, there is going to be repercussions, and this is it. It's just that simple. And I'm glad that Stearns, while again, I'm not happy that he waited long. I think he should have been proactive in the season. Again, yeah. I look back to that Pittsburgh series after they got swept there. That's when I think Chavez should have been gone at that point. And you could even argue Hefner with the fact that they were allowing 12 runs in games to the Pirates. But yeah, nonetheless, it's done now. And at least it sets a tone of this shit's unacceptable. Now it does make me wonder as well, because Stearns was talking about how he learned from it. And I think someone asked this like really early in the show, is what is the leash on Mendoza? And I think the bench coaching hire might tell us a lot about that. Because if they have someone that looks like is maybe ready to go in a manager role right off the rip, I think that tells us that Mendoza's leash is short.
Now, what if the bench coach ends up being Eric Chavez?
Then
I don't know.
more pancakes.
I guess, yeah. He's gonna pump everyone up. That's basically it. The Mets offense was more productive with Eric Chavez as the third base coach this year compared to him as the hitting coach. He actually served as the third base coach for a second. So I don't know. Maybe he'll join Luis Rojas in the Mets casualties with the Yankees because he was originally supposed to be their bench coach when the Mets stole him away. They stole him. And we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I hope it's not just the fact of just the pure results or this or that. It's about the message that was being sent. And the message that was being sent throughout the clubhouse, it starts with the coaching. And again, there's still other stuff that needs to be figured out. Plenty of other stuff. This isn't it. But first of a series of culture-changing moves for the New York Mets going into 2026. And I think, Evan, you're also very excited for this. And we can all scream yeah at the top of our lungs at the sight of this, of them getting rid of Eric Chavez.
And the other thing we could say is whatever happens, happens from here on out.
Yeah, you never know. You never know. Again, like we said, first step here. Still plenty of changes that need to be made. Plenty of culture changes that need to be made. All right, the jokes are writing themselves at this point. And I think we're going to wrap it up here. I didn't expect us to go as long as we did, but there was just so much that we had to unpack and so much that we had to unravel in this situation because of how much it was boiling for the last 4 years. But we're going to end it off here. So one more time, Eric Chavez, Jeremy Barnes, Mike Sarbaugh, Jeremy Hefner, all gone, not coming back next year. Glenn Sherlock has retired as the Mets catching coach. John Gibbons has resigned, and then we also have the bullpen coach and the assistant pitching coach that have been granted permission to seek other jobs. And then Danny Barnes, the strategy coach, and Antone Richardson will be returning for 2026. So that is it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Listening. Hope you guys enjoyed the conversation. If you're watching or listening on playback, you want to join the conversation live in the future, make sure to subscribe to the Mets Weekly YouTube channel. Turn on those post notifications to know when we go live. Also, make sure to follow Evan and Matt as well. Their links are in the description for their show, Mets Central, that they do as well. Probably will end up doing that weekly as well, right? If you want to add any more information on your show going in the off season.
Yeah, we're still figuring things out in that regard. We're probably going to do weekly episodes, unless, of course, there is news that breaks, such as this, throughout the offseason, because the culture-changing moves are coming. So there's hopefully going to be more to talk about, whether it is roster-wise and then now coaching-wise, whenever we find out certain names, assuming that we get a good amount of info on them, we will, of course, go live to talk about it.
Yeah, we have about 1 or 2 days picked out for our show for Mets Weekly. So for those of you wondering where the off-season content will be, it will likely be towards the end of the week or maybe towards the middle. We'll see. We're still trying to figure things out, but we will be back next week. Next week in the calendar from Saturday to Sunday, if that makes sense. Sometime during that, we will be back for off-season content to start everything up once again. But right now, we're kind of in a break of if news drops like this. But we're not going to do anything weekly for a few more days. But other than that, make sure to follow Mets Weekly on X and on TikTok. Follow all of us individually. Links are in the description. And of course, let's go Mets. Eric Chavez. Good riddance. It was fun. Not really. We don't like you. We'll see you guys next time.